I would advise you to be careful with this camper because if my parents would have had something like this when I was growing up, I'm not sure I ever would have moved out. And hey everybody, Josh RV Nerd with Bish's RV back down here at Brinkley today. Special thank you to the returning members of the RV Nerd Herd. By your popular request, the Model Z Air 315. This is a beast of a triple slide trailer right here. If you're looking for more of a couples situation, this might not necessarily be the ideal fit for you, but there's still some interesting benefits here to a couples camping scenario. Let me explain. By default, you look at this, you say, dude, that's a bunkhouse any way you slice it. And I'm not really going to argue with you with that. But the way that they executed this rear room back here, if you have something like an actual, like literal mother-in-law, father-in-law situation, not just kids, or maybe you have an adult child with special needs, but you want to go out and enjoy those kind of memories. This is a floor plan that could be a bunk room, certainly, but it can very easily convert into a dedicated second living room. And they've actually done a very different thing with the sleeper sofa in that bunk room, which can turn into a really cool kind of daytime lounge space. So if everyone's stuck inside this thing on a rainy day, you're not gonna go stir crazy and end up wanting to, like, you know, choke each other to death or something like that. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Anyway, now like all your Z Air trailers, you've got 7-foot ceilings. This one coming standard with triple AC. You've got dual chill cubes plus an 8,000 BTU air dedicated just to that rear room. That's something like 40,000 BTUs of cooling capacity on this that can all run on 50 amp service. That's extremely wild. Package that up with their hot cold weather package, a significantly superior tire, braking, and suspension package as compared to the majority of travel trailers, one-touch auto leveling, and just a flood of other features. And I think you've got something here that's pretty special.
Okay, so there's a bunch of builders that have a floor plan like this. They have their version of it, their facsimile of it. So what I want to focus on most with this video is what Brinkley is doing differently to help you understand how this might compare or not to something else. That's up to you. Let's kind of start at the bottom and sort of work our way up. What you're going to find, of course, no floor heating vents or anything like that in any of your Brinkley products, wherever they can avoid them. But none in the living room, none in the bunk room. But opposing floor flush rack and pinion slides in your living cavity. The slide system changes in the bunk room. I'll give you details on that when we get there. But in your main walking space, you don't have that annoying toe stubber kitchen slide. While we're, let's talk floor stuff again. While we're working from the bottom, working our way up the island, I like the under effect lighting. You might notice how it's a steel base. That makes it a little bit stronger because when those slides retract, they need that little toe kick cutaway to be able to fully retract. Well, if they didn't reinforce that more heavily, that would make the island very wobbly. And you might also find solid surface countertops throughout the RV, inclusive of the bathroom. Now, unless you live looking at RVs like I do, it can be very hard to visually dissect these things. And one of the key things I want to point out is how this has an exceptional 7-foot ceiling clearance on the inside. There's less than a handful of other travel trailers that can boast that same metric right there. The taller ceiling, 6 inches taller than industry standard, means they're allowed to put a full fifth wheel size slide in here, which means they're able to include a full fifth wheel sized set of kitchen appliances, like a 16 cubic foot, 12 volt compressor fridge. So you're just getting more and bigger stuff. You're getting the same larger oven here that you get in all of the Z family. I'll probably say this a bunch of times in the video. The goal of a Z Air trailer is to give you all of the features they can in their Model Z fifth wheels packed into a travel trailer. There's going to be a couple things that won't translate. That's why it technically has its own separate designator, but they're as close together as they could reasonably possibly be. Now let's talk a really cool thing right here. Let's talk air conditioning. That was not an intended pun. I know you probably won't believe that if you watch my videos, but it wasn't intentional. This has standard triple air. That's definitely something that Brinkley's doing different from most manufacturers. You've got dual 18,000 BTU chill cubes
plus a dedicated 8,000 BTU air in the bunk room. If I'm doing the math right, that's like 40,000 BTUs of cooling power. I don't know what I said when the video began. It is early. The caffeine is only just now kicking in, so I probably did the math wrong earlier. But you've actually got 3 different executions of the air conditioner. Again, this one is a smaller 8,000 BTU standalone, very similar to what you might find in like the bedroom of a Model I. And it is servicing only this rear bunk slash secondary living space right here. The 18,000 BTU chill cube here in the living room and kitchen is a direct dump air servicing only this cavity. So a bigger room gets a bigger air conditioner. Now your bedroom and bathroom share another 18,000 BTU chill cube air. That one is a mini ducted system servicing only that. So you actually have triple zone air conditioning. Very handy if part of the RV is in the sun and part of it's not. You can get individual, more even cooling capacity. As we work our way down here, I want to point out, like you see that power outlet on the island, I want to point out something. From the theater seat, the island doesn't interfere with the TV whatsoever. If I lean way over here and kind of simulate sitting at the dining, the island is low enough, I don't think it's really in the way. But from your primary sofa, it's definitely not in the way. I think that that's one of those things that until you sit at the sofa, you can't fully discern. Of course, you have your 5,000 BTU electric space heat and fireplace down below. You have another of those up in the bedroom. And this is something I mentioned. You've got the little friendly features for the 4-legged furry friends. You've got the little magnet attaching removable pet dish station, whether it's dogs or cats or whatever. I don't think the RV industry as a whole realizes how many people are cat campers now. It's still the minority as compared to dogs, but it's, I actually think, a growing segment of RVers are camping with their cats. Cool random fun fact, a lot of cats actually have a parasite that can make other creatures around them feel affection toward that cat. And it's thought to be a survival mechanism so that, you know, things that the cat might be hunting in the area can get infected by this parasite and be less inclined to be scared of the cat, making it easier for the cat to pick off a mouse or something like that. Here's another fun fact. 1/3 of the human population is infected by that parasite. So there might be a literal medical scientific reason for the, quote, crazy cat lady effect. Some people might just be overwhelmed by I love my cat affection parasites. That's a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. So there you go. Maximum campsite window coverage in this one. That's another major key factor in this floor plan right here. But I really like different builders have different versions of a booth or something like this. I really like all the attention to detail they put in here. First of all, I like the fact that this is that Dream Dinette system. So especially if you're sitting on this side of the table, it's less of a knee knocker. You want to put the kids kind of against the wall, as it were. But you might notice 2 different styles of benches. You've got a permanent fixed bench on the left, and then a floating bench storage ottoman on the right. But it still has that little brown wooden runner on it. So that means this thing can still convert into a sleeper. And diving through all the details on everything I can for you, like the permanent fixed bench obviously has easy access storage under it. The floating bench, you can see, has that removable cushion top, but if you look really closely, it's actually got a layer of that no-slip kind of shelf stuff. That's an easy low-dollar hack to keep your cushions from sliding around. Brinkley knows that, so they just do it factory standard. This floating mobile bench ottoman thing could be like a little, you know, play top, tabletop for somebody, but it also self-stores the extra cushions you need to convert that to a sleeper. Now, that's a small sleeper, but it's a sleeper capable. Most of those floating bench systems are not sleeper capable whatsoever. The sofa over here is a manual ripcord style, but it does have heat massage and USB plugs, albeit in that thigh buster position. So if you do have a USB plug plugged in, there's a decent chance you could end up
hitting it and potentially breaking it. Now, I haven't looked. I gotta believe. Okay, yes, there are some power outlets over here, but it's white on the right side, right next to the countertop level. Essentially, right where you would want them. So I think that's some really good, smart execution right there. Working our way back around, we're gonna head back to that, bunk slash overflow second living room in just a second. But I want to point out how that is a power televator mounted in that solid surface counter behind the fireplace. So if you need to get that out of the way, you absolutely can. You also have a pocket privacy door right here, so you don't have to worry about a swinging door accidentally getting smashed by a slide out. Now, I mentioned how, this could be a multi-functional room right here. Like when we come in here, we have, of course, the gas strutted move bunk, get out the way system. It's so easy. It's ludicrous, ladies and gentlemen. These are the jokes. If you take a look in here, that suddenly creates a nice, wide, open space. Now, you might notice a small little toe stubber on that slide. That's a different kind of slide system. That's a slim rack slide right there. But that I don't know that that's really a big deal. I don't know that you're walking so much in front of that sofa. If you're that close to the sofa, you're probably sitting down. I also appreciate how they're really good about I don't know why my voice just jumped too high. But sound like Mickey Mouse for a second there. They had all these little J hooks right there, just all over the RV, wherever they can, just to maximize any kind of potential function. These windows up here in the bunk area do open for airflow. They do have bug screens. They also have the day and night shades. And something else that's kind of interesting, again, considering how this could be an expanded slash second living room, they actually standardize all the TVs in this. All this, the smart TV, yeah, well, they're all smart TVs, but bunk room, living room, bedroom, every room has its own entertainment. The outside of the RV is ready for entertainment if you want to add one. But if you look up here behind it, they had a little pocket of space above the camp kitchen. Because they're 6 inches taller, they had a 6-inch extra gap here. They said, man, that would be perfect if, like, you have a little spot you want to, put an Xbox or a whatever you could. Now, this dresser space over here is open face, and I was about to knock them for it when I realized it's actually reinforced, and this is the ladder to get to the upper bunk, so you don't have to heave-ho, throw the kids into the upper bunk. And overall, for the space they had allotted, they added all of the storage capacity they could. Anybody who has children understands how much space they need and can occupy. My wife and I had a charming little starter home, as you would say in common real estate phraseology. And then we had our beautiful little girl, whom we love more than anything in the world. And somehow, this tiny little creature occupied 2/3 of our home. It defied all logic, but there it was. Now, at a glance, you look at this, you're like, I get it. It's a sleeper sofa. I feel like if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all. But theirs has a cool thing where when you open it up, the legs self-deploy. Most sleeper sofas, you have to fight and wrestle with these. And if you're stuck inside on a rainy day and you just need max lounge space, that sofa can kind of convert into just sort of a stretch out napping lounge. Now, there's multiple different clickety-clack kind of like tilt settings that you can have on that. So if someone back here prefers to have their head elevated a little bit when they sleep, that's also a thing that can do. It's those little tiny differences that Brinkley puts in that I think separates them. But the thing is, they have like 1,000 of them. For instance, not only is this pocket screwed lumber core cabinetry, but you can see the hidden hinges. What is a little less obvious is that all the cabinet doors in this are going to be soft close. And another thing that's easy to miss is that all of your drawers are also soft close. And all of your drawers have a little more heavy-duty dovetail construction. You see how they're kind of wood jointed together. They're not just exclusively a staple fastener. Now, that's kind of become an interesting talking point in the RV industry. Is dovetail construction better? Yes. Have I seen drawers really fall apart because of a staple fastener? Not really. Not impossible. I'm not going to say it's never happened, is not common. But the dovetail stuff does feel a little bit nicer. But that's also one of the many different reasons Brinkley's tend to run a little higher on the price tag. You know, like they have a little higher grade sound system. That Rockford Fosgate sound system sounds pretty darn awesome, you know. By the way, that fireplace, air quote, fireplace that we're looking at, that electric space heater we call a fireplace, I have it currently on visual only mode, so you can run it in a totally heatless mode if you are so interested and so inclined. As we work our way around here, the pantry has all these shelves in it, which is nice. It's easy to miss there is a power outlet in there in case you want to run something in it. The shelves are also removable and adjustable, so you can do whatever it is you really want to do with them effectively. Down over here, just on your little welcome home kind of coffee bar bureau, and notice there is a set of power outlets with both household and USB functions right next to that little mini Traveler's Keurig machine right there. So that could be a really effective coffee bar. I forgot where I was going with this. I think that I had like 2 or 3 things that I wanted to say, and my brain just basically shut off. So instead of that, we're going to keep on looking at storage and crack open the island, because I have no idea what I was getting ready to say. This is kind of a Brinkley signature feature that has been adopted by quite a few RV builders. You've got the pull-out kind of, you know, paper towel spindle right there, and you've got a drawer in a drawer configuration with a spot here for your wastebasket, but also a place where you could tuck you know, extra garbage bags there if you need it. Now, I don't know if you notice this. This is such a small thing that as someone who looks at RVs all day, they didn't put that drawer runner up high where it would get tweaked around all the time, or down low rather. They put it right in the middle where it kind of has the most weight and stress and makes the most sense. Again, dovetail drawer construction, soft close all the way. And then down here under that black stainless farm sink, there's actually dishwasher prep. So there's a power outlet down there to run it. You can kind of see that. And every single water fixture in these have their own individual shutoff valves. So the let's say for some reason the bathroom sink's hot water line develops a problem, develops a leak of some sort. You don't have to cripple your kitchen or your shower or your toilet because of that. You can just continue to kind of use everything normally. Some people ask, you know, why do they do a vertical split fridge freezer? Some people feel it makes it hard to put bigger stuff in there. I understand that. I definitely recognize that. Basically, it's because if you look at its location in relation to the island, it allows you to still access at least the fridge section in transit. Now, what I'm not sure about, I'm going to check this in a little bit. I think when we close all the slides, it's going to basically pinch off the entire kitchen, living room, and transit. That is normal with a big triple slide bunk room like this, but I'll verify for you if you hang with me. Your entry door does have a full window. It does include a privacy shade. It includes the extra screen assist to be able to pull that sucker shut more easily. Very handy for the kids so they don't rip off that plastic little screen door slider bug prevention panel. And this little guy down here in case you have little toddlers or pets that want to scratch at the door for some reason. It protects your screen door. Handy little dandy feature right there. Working our way around, remember that sliding pocket privacy door for the bunk room. You have another of those here for the bathroom, obviously off camera. We're not looking at it. I'm just letting you know it's there. Still stainless sinks, still solid surface counters, still hidden hinge, you know, soft closed doors and drawers throughout. Notice how they put the heat vent under the shower so that, you know, you don't have a place where if you're playing Game of Thrones, you don't end up with some Peter sprinklage going down the heat vents and stinking up the whole camper. You might notice too, this is what I define as fairly fluffy friendly. It gets that designation very comfortably here. You also have a one-piece molded fiberglass shower like you'd expect in a big luxury fifth wheel here in a travel trailer. Again, they're doing all their nice fifth wheel features they can on one flat deck, including the bigger Fajita Friday Fume Fight and Fart fan in here. But because they have a taller ceiling, which if you notice when I stand in the shower, I don't need my head in what you would normally call a skylight. they were able to remove the skylight, and basically there's just a little vent system right there. And what that means is there now is the largest hole that gets cut in an RV's roof is for the bathroom skylight. And now it's been removed. They have removed the largest potential leak point from that thing. Not to mention they have their 3-year seals and gaskets warranty. We'll talk about that when we go up on the roof, when we go outside. 60 by 80 true queen bed on this one. At this time, they are not offering any other bed size options nor swaptions because they have in their cabinet shop basically standardized this massive amount of storage around the bed right here. And that's something that they're just not necessarily willing to give up and or sacrifice at this time. But speaking of bed and storage, they did everything they could, not just above and around, but also below the bed. They have this little kind of recessed into the floor. I don't know that I want to call it a safe, but it does have a locking lid. On top of your side dresser stands, there was some dead air pockets. So they just kind of finished it off and said, I don't know, if you want to put watches or jewelry or something there, you definitely could. Your dresser drawers also open out, so you don't have to lift the bed to get to them. And notice, of course, I got it. There we go. How there's this undermount lighting right here. There's a motion sensor right there so that when you sling your legs over the bed, or if you're walking into bed at night, you can see where you're going without turning on the main cabin lights and blinding everybody. Now, both sides of the bed have double dresser drawers, and you have your hanging storage on both sides of the bed. Again, the taller ceiling just allows them to squeeze more space in like that. So if you like to sit up in bed, you can definitely sit up in bed and never worry about bonking your head on anything. All 3 of these doors swing the same direction. They all go one direction. And visually, maybe that's not the most aesthetically pleasing to some people, but it allows for maximum access. Simply is the idea behind it. That's the goal that they were looking for there, making it very functional. And I don't know that people care that much about the way the doors swing open, but just kind of pointing out certain things. Both sides of the bed also have these very capable headboard power pockets, which, can store a number of different devices for you, depending on what you need beside your bed. If you need phone chargers, you've got plugs in there. You throw anything you want in that sucker. Remember, you do have a shared between the bedroom and bathroom 18,000 BTU air conditioner up here. Across from the bed, you have your standard smart TV system. Working our way down, you have a second 5,000 BTU space heating fireplace, and you might have noticed all the storage on the wall here across from the bed. Well, basically, it's Energizer Bunny storage. It just keeps going and going. First of all, the laundry hamper. That's very handy. I don't care who you are. That's very useful. Quadruple, very deep, serious dresser drawer capacity there. And then we have this big shelf cavity, more dresser space up top. If you wanted to, you could probably DIY convert that over into hanging space, but by default, it is not. This vertical tower of storage over here, though, is washer dryer prepped. And that is something that very few builders who make a floor plan like this can offer. Now, one of the things I was wondering about turned out to be correct, as it turns out here. Real quick, before I forget, the back of the blackout nightshades actually has a radiant foil backer on it to help keep it protected from the sun. If we look down here, I was really worried about getting to the fuse box, but the travel critical fuses, they put a little additional access point on here. Now, at a glance, obviously you're not going to be able to get to that fridge or stop and feed the kids a sandwich or anything. But there's kind of a way around it right here. Generally speaking, if you can open these steps, then you can open this slide. Because right now the steps and the slides stick out about the same depth, but when you swing the steps open, they'll actually stick out further. Usually, if you can open the steps, you could open that slide. So if you do have a space at a travel stop where you have the capacity to do that, you can suddenly get back to the fridge, you can get to enough of the sink, you could maybe pack some travel supplies over in this secondary pantry space here and still have a spot to sit down
and feed the family at a travel stop. I'm not saying this is A plus travel access. I'm just saying it has the capacity. All right, so let's talk towing. I can sum this up pretty quickly. If someone even begins to breathe the suggestion of towing this with a half ton, the most logical course of action in that moment is to punch them in the face and go away. There's just, you need a big truck. You need a big truck. You need a real truck to handle one of these. It is as big as a fifth wheel, which some people, which means you need the same vehicle as a fifth wheel. And some people will say, so why don't I just get a fifth wheel? Well, there's different, strokes for different folks. Some people have no interest in giving up their truck bed. Some people are just going to park it seasonally or something like that. Some people don't want the extra steps or any number of reasons. Everything works different for different people. And I got to give them credit for the eye appeal. Man, the curb appeal on these things is dead smexy, dude. The little glow panel inlays you see in the nose cap right there, always looking really good. But as we come back down here to where that big stone guard is, you see that fully enclosed gearbox. But notice how it's kind of elevated off the trailer tongue in some very key areas. That's because that's where about 99% of weight distribution brackets are going to land, and they know that, so they plan accordingly. But this box right here, what it's doing for us, this is where we have our propane and our batteries. Now, because it has propane, Brinkley is not allowed to put a lock mechanism on this, because some people might say, yeah, but what if I want to put fancy batteries, lithiums? I don't want thieves to run off with my stuff. I get it, but they are not allowed legally to put locks on that. After you purchase it, if you choose to do that, that's up to you, but it's a fire safety thing effectively. The Z-Air series, the idea behind this, again, is to give you everything that you could possibly get in a fifth wheel mashed into a travel trailer, like auto leveling. That's just the kind of stuff that they're going to do right here. As we work our way back, I'll hit on a couple things on this side, and then we'll jump through the pass-through compartment, metaphorically speaking. I am not in Ninja Warrior shape currently, so I'm probably not jumping through anything. But you do have two different slide systems in play here. Your main living room and kitchen slides are rack and pinion. Your bunk room slide is a slim rack system. So basically, the same type of slide setups, again, that they're using on their big, heavy fifth wheels, like the full Z fifth wheels and the Model G fifth wheels, they're doing the same things here. The big, heavy, giant living room slides are on a rack and pinion system, which I personally think is the correct answer. Rack and pinion being, in my view, and statistically speaking, the best, most reliable system for that kind of heavyweight stuff. Now this, like all of your Brinkleys, has some pretty extreme holding tank capacities. Like your gray water in total between everything is 105 gallons. But it's broken up into like three different kind of sections, but it's a total of 105 gallon. You have that 60,000 BTU on-demand water heater right there. In our enclosed docking center, very similar to their fifth wheels, you have their push-button electronic dump gate valves. So once you're hooked up, like I'm a park pavement princess, I camp with like full hookups, including on-site sewer. You just push the button, you let it do its thing, you close it, and you're done, son. This is also a cool little sneak peek as to something they're doing. Like, they're using brass fittings on their plumbing. They don't use flex hoses crimped to PEX lines. They're 2 or 3 steps above what the RV industry self-regulates requires for itself. There's some people would say self-regulated means non-regulated. I'm not going to argue with you. I don't necessarily know that you're wrong. This is one of the other really interesting things they do right here. This is a 65-foot built-on freshwater hose. If you watched my last video, you're aware that I pulled that out and accidentally let go of it, and it went zing and went flying and smacked into a bunch of stuff. I don't think it's an accident. They parked it a little bit closer to the wall so I wouldn't have the opportunity to relive that little moment, except in our memories right here. I said we were going to climb through the pass-through compartment, but I backed up. So I guess we're going to just keep on keeping on and walk our way around right here. We're just going to kind of let the camper talk to us. Just like the inside, something you won't see on the outside, a lot of mechanical fasteners. They're just really good at giving these a very clean look. You've got the dual power awning setup on here, which I think is the right way to go. There's a push and a pull to everything. With the dual awning, you technically get the most awning space available to your campsite by far. When you have a split awning right next to an entry door like that, on a rainy day, you can still kind of get spritzed in the face. But man, I mean, there's never necessarily a perfect way around that. If you didn't want to have that happen, the only other solution is to bury an awning over the super slide and then lose a huge, huge chunk of it. Now, like a fifth wheel, this has a drop frame front storage compartment, and you can kind of see how even under the bed they're doing the aluminum framework there. They actually have 3 levels of battery disconnect. They have a total hard disconnect, a solar disconnect, and then kind of a traveler's disconnect. That will allow the fridge, the solar, and the jacks basically to operate while essentially cutting everything off to maximize your power longevity and minimize your consumption in transit. There's little things that are super easy to miss. Like for instance, right down here, you see this little loop on the drop frame welded right to it. That's a drunken uncle leash latch in case your Uncle Gary decides to tie one on and you got to tie him onto the camper so he doesn't go wandering into traffic again, because we all know what happened last October, don't we? Anyway, in case you weren't aware, Uncle Gary's Halloween outfit, he wore all black and called himself the Invisible Pedestrian. It just didn't end well. Anyway, you might notice under the belly a couple things. Where'd they go? There's speakers right up there. So you do have outside speakers, but they're undermounted and tucked away. So they're going to broadcast sound down toward your side instead of the neighbors. I do not have on currently the kind of ground effect lighting, but in addition to lighting under the awning, you have lighting under the RV just to kind of keep the whole site brightened up a little bit, which is sort of nice. The underbelly, it's enclosed, as you could clearly see, but it's also forced air heated. They include a radiant barrier layering down there, and they have holding tank heat pads on all your holding tanks to basically get you that 0-degree capability. I don't like to use the word 4 seasons because I think that sets some false expectations, but 0 to 100, you're going to be fine here. Frankly, with the standard triple air, this might be capable of going to more than 100, but I don't know that they've tested it to that. So if they haven't made a promise, I'm not going to go making it up. You know what I mean? Working our way down here, there's a serious chunk of the money of this RV represented right down here at ground level. So first of all, you got your Hankook Vantra tires, which is a better tire than the massive majority of the RV towable industry. You've also got, you see the red wheel hubs. There's 3 things happening there. This is electronic anti-sway, anti-lock braking, and a dynamic brake boost. So if the trailer detects that it is going down a sharp hill, it will organically fire the brakes harder so you can just drive instead of fiddle with your brake controller. Brilliant. And you can obviously see the Road Armor suspension package right up there between the 2 tires. You've also got tire pressure monitoring, factory standard, not just prep. So they're doing a lot, because this is a big rig. They want to keep you road ready and road safe. That's the idea behind this. There's a new thing that they're doing too. Most RVs that have an ABS system, you could download kind of like a separate app to sort of talk to the anti-lock braking to get diagnostics, to know how many miles the RV's been towed and stuff like that, how many wheel revolutions have taken place. Brinkley has tied all of the technology together so that with the One Control app that you can download for free, which also will allow you to do things like run the awnings and check your holding tanks and blah, 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 like a bunch of different things. It's your smart command system. That can actually see those ABS diagnostics because of the extra steps that Brinkley's put together here. But that's all stuff you can't see. And a lot of people aren't aware of that. They have a hard time appreciating that. By the way, under the camp kitchen here, there's a second handy helper stinky slinky sewer tube holder so that, you can have all kinds of different solutions available to you. A smart detail, again, that's easy to miss. They are running 12-volt outside fridges. They're one of the only builders that I know of that is doing that. Almost every builder will give you a 110 fridge and say, well, yeah, you can put an inverter on it, but inverters tax your battery supply more harshly, so you don't have to do that here. Now, if you notice, all of your counter space out here. It's a galvanized rolled steel. So if it gets wet, it's not the world's biggest deal. Now keep in mind, you do still have some wooden cabinetry in here, but look at the thought and the detail. Anywhere that a cabinet door would bonk something, they put the little technical term is rubber baby buggy bumpers on these things. And even these are soft close with magnet holdbacks and hidden hinges. Plenty of outlets I'm noticing in this camp kitchen. So if you want to make it a margarita station or something, you absolutely could. Or plug in the bubble machine and let the kids go nuts, whatever you feel like doing. Another thing here, I double checked and I asked the question. I said, okay, cool. You have a sink in the camp kitchen. Does it actually go into a holding tank? The answer is it does. Now, a little extra info. Like, I'm a little over 6 foot tall. This sink is about the level of my big old dad bod belly right here. So it's a little high, but that's because the RV with its weight rating has heavy tires, big suspension, and a taller, thicker chassis. It's basically the equivalent of a fifth wheel chassis on this thing. And that means that this whole thing is raised up quite a bit, especially because you have to have a P-trap and everything under this sink right here, or else it would stink to high heaven every time you walked out here. And you don't want that flooding into your bunk room and permeating potentially. So it might be a little high if you're a little more gravity friendly, if you will. The other thing I wanted to show you is just the head clearance under here. Again, being a little over 6 foot tall, I can very comfortably stand under this thing. And I don't necessarily exactly have an awning directly above me, but I do have an awning covering the door. I have an awning over the face of the slide. So yeah, there's a couple little breaks right there if I'm trying to do like a little bit of grilling and it's spritzing rain. But it's not the end of the world for just a quick zip in, zip out. And if nothing else, you can stand there and just get a little break from the sun while you're cracking open a cold one. And that's obviously referring to iced tea. Now, I don't know if you're more familiar with the Long Island variety, the traditional variety, or the wrapping variety. It's kind of, up to dealer's choice, I suppose. This is interesting. Very few travel trailers have a towing hitch package. Many of them will have an accessory hitch package. This one actually includes the safety chain hooks and the 4-way wiring harness. That's a very, very uncommon feature. Now, if you notice over here, there's this thing on the rear wall. I have a feeling some folks might ask questions for that. Basically, it's just a vent. I don't know if it's helping ventilate the rear wall for off-gassing, if it has something to do with the camp kitchen, but it's a vent for a thing is the best way I can describe it. First of all, I want to give them credit for actually including a ladder on the RV. But these bigger square ladders, I'm a fan of them because they also can double as towel racks, and that's an extremely useful thing on an RV. Great place to dry out some beach towels. Rear view camera, still factory standard on all the Model Zs. That right there is a couple $100 of upgrade that you could apply to almost any RV, but now it's installed at the factory level. And the reason I like that key designation is now it is protected by the factory warranty. That's something that an aftermarket camera install cannot say. So sometimes it's those little difference factors that make the big differences for folks' peace of mind. Quick little note here. I mentioned how it had 2 sewer hose holders. That's because it does technically have 2 sewer hose connects. Now, your bathroom and your kitchen all connect to the front drain. This, I believe, is a 30-gallon gray water only tank dedicated exclusively to the camp kitchen. So if you're not using water service in the camp kitchen, you don't have to use this at all. And in case you're curious, yes, the electronic dump gate valves, one of those is dedicated to the rear drain. So again, if you do have on-site sewer hookup, if you have like a Y hose splitter and everything's all connected, you never actually need to go crawling around to mess with anything. And if you weren't aware, you're like, yeah, but what if I lose power or anything? What if for some reason this isn't working? There's still a manual pull override for those things. Now, climbing my fat butt up top here, I can verify through personal experience this is a fully walkable roof. And at a glance, one RV roof looks the same as the next. Like you can see the 370-watt solar panel here. If there's definitely room very easily if you want to slap another one of those up there, you could. While we're up here, though, you see the white pipe caps? Those are holding tank breather pipes, basically. The black one, though, that is actually just like a conduit pipe that it goes down behind the pantry in the kitchen, if I'm not mistaken. And what that will do is if you want to totally customize a monster solar package, it gives you an ability to more easily run wiring down. Or if you want to add a Starlink kit or something, it gives you a place to run some wiring down into the RV without needing to like drill holes through stuff and modify things. Now, if you get up here, first of all, they're crazy heavy-handed with sealants. The average RV buyer never looks at the roof of the RV that they're buying. You know, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, the average RV buyer never looks at the roof of the RV they're buying. But if you look at this, if you do happen to do that, you'll find that Brinkley, first of all, is far more heavy-handed with their sealants. Secondly, they're using a far better grade of sealant from MS Polymer. Basically, they're using the same sealants that you'd find on a diesel pusher, not a common towable. And below, like all of your stuff here, they actually have an additional gasket seal. And they've been doing that since day one, but they now officially have backed that with their new 3-year seals and gaskets warranty. And what's cool about that is they actually retroed that back to like unit number 1 effectively. But with the types of sealants and the extra protection methods they're using, whether it's the sealants on the roof or even around the baggage doors, effectively all exterior sealants on this come with a 3-year warranty. Maybe somebody else is doing that. I'm not really aware of it. That's like one of the first times I've ever heard something like that. Things like, I mean, the number one biggest concern I think a lot of people have with RVs is leaking. And the fact that they have put a greater level of backing on that versus, as far as I know, anyone else, I think is very telling about what they're doing and their confidence behind it and the peace of mind you can take from it. So there you go, everybody. Once again, this one brought to you by your popular request. If there's a model I'm missing, I'm always trying to get every Brinkley model I can at least once on camera as they come out. But if there's one I'm missing, do me a favor, leave some notes, leave some requests, and I will always do my best to try to prioritize that one for you best that I can. Short of that, as always, double check the links in the description for pricing and availability. Now, when I say pricing, you might be able to get an idea of MSRP on our website. But with the Brinkley pricing policies, we're typically not able to publish our discounted sale pricing. Contact our team and we can get that for you. But those are the rules that we're beholden to in this case. I just want you to understand when you see a full MSRP on our website, we don't run full MSRP at Bish's RV. It's just not something we do. We also don't do hidden fees. We also winterize your RV for you at no charge every year and a bunch of other things like your first year included on our RVFix, like tech in your pocket kind of program and all kinds of other things. If you have questions on any of that, drop our team a note. We'd be happy to fill you in. But short of that, let me know what you think about this one. And if you'd like to see some other Brinkley models, you're like, man, I like this, but I don't need bunks. Check the links in the description. I'm probably going to leave you links to a bunch of other Brinkley models, especially like the Z Air trailers and Model I trailers that you could potentially choose from. And short of that, thanks again for tuning in. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.